Lady Renal turns her attention to Blaise. Very quietly, she says, "You appear very invested in the Agile situation." "Of course I am," Blaise says. "I want the college to be the best it can be, Lady Renal, as much as you do." Lady Renal does not rise to the bait. "That's the teacher's concern, Marshal, not yours." Beneath her implacable stare, Blaise loses any appearance of strength they might have had. They look just like the petulant adolescent they are, furious terror standing in their eyes. Blaise leaps to their feet. "Yajide needs to be gone. I was just showing everyone what would happen if she stayed."
Welcome back to Crème de la Crème, Episode 3. Today I thought, gee, what if advertising worked on me? And then I realized, wait, fuck, it does. So this one time, I was driving back from one of the local shopping malls, Medlin, if you're ever in Pretoria, don't go there. But I had went there to get a pair of shoes. Oxbloods, not, Doc Martens, because just buy counterfeit Doc Martens or real combat boot. Don't be a shill, they're not punk. Anyway, I had acquired the shoes I was looking for, and I was driving back and I saw this really kick-ass billboard. It was like, of these people, really, party types. The kind of guys you'd see, just chilling in like one of those Spanish islands. I forgot the name. The little ones filled with Germans in the eastern coast next to Catalonia? Those ones? I really don't know what they're actually called. The holiday ones, yeah. Where everyone does cool drugs and you dress in color complementary outfits. All of that. I saw these people on a billboard and they were drinking Tanqueray. That's kind of gin, if you hadn't noticed. Yes, it's also the term for the way of the tank in that one show with the tank waifus, but and let me tell you, that very much confused me when I first saw the tank show, because I thought, shit, this is the most convoluted gin commercial I've ever seen. They haven't even put the main product on show yet. But no, Tanqueray in real life is a fairly good gin. It's not like anything super fantastic, but, at the average liquor store, it's on the higher side of what you're going to get. So I see these people, and they're drinking, this new Sevilla orange Tanqueray. They're really sexy, and they got the nice clothes. I thought, gee, man, I would like an outfit like that. I'd return my new Oxblood shoes this second if I could get an outfit like that. Long story short, I did not get that outfit. I don't think it exists in real life. Just like tank waifus. But anyway, so I was wandering around now after my exams were finished for the semester, and I see, oh shit, they actually have this stuff in real life, the orange Tanqueray. It's not, invented to sell outfits that don't exist, or, the plain Tanqueray. It's a legitimate beverage. So I buy a bottle of it. I buy 2 liters of tonic water, which is never fucking enough, because no matter how much tonic water you buy, you just never have enough of it. Anyway, so I'm recording this drinking the Sevilla Blood Orange Tanqueray with the remaining dregs of tonic water, what I have, and it's nice. I like it because it's not too offensive on the botanicals, because, with some gins, it's like the assholes who make gin, they, walk around the garden in the local nature reserve, their weed dealer's backyard, and they just pick up random weeds and, flowers and dog shit and mix that into the gin, and it tastes really, really pretentious. But this stuff, it's not offensive. I think orange works very well with gin, actually. For plain gin, lemon is preferable if you're doing cocktails, but, with anything flavored like this, orange really just, it pops, It's very nice. And, of course, we're going to be drinking it and causing as much mayhem as possible in Crème de la Crème.
And without further ado, we're on to part 1, winter term. Getting nice and frosty. Do you know what they say about frosty? They say, restraint in the face of frustration is a mark of true nobility. Losing one's dignity results in a swift cold shoulder from one's former peers. From the Philosophical Considerations of Lady Françoise Renal. Pithy stuff. And we are finally on to Chapter 1, Class Rivalries. It's odd to wake up in a room with 6 other people, and the sunlight is so bright through the delicate curtains that it's hard to stay asleep too long. Max tries, though, and Hartman eventually drags his blanket off to rouse him. Breakfast is a far less grand affair than yesterday. Toast slathered with so much butter that it's soggy, sliced meat, and cheese that's very piquant for this time of day. You eat quickly, and hurry to your first class. Okay, look. What is up with the breakfasts in this? Alright, I admit South Africans, we're not great at this whole breakfast thing. Namely, as we'll try and eat maize porridge like literally every meal a day. Call it pap. Breakfast, soft, sugar, bit of milk, lunch, stiff. Dinner? Hell, do I like mashed potatoes? But, I mean, this is just not how you do toast. And like, this is an upper class thing, I know, so this is, like, really annoying me. You don't give people buttered toast, because this is exactly what happens. It goes soggy. You give them toast, and you give them butter, and you let themselves figure it out. It's like if you're in, a fancy restaurant, they give you bread. They give you little bread rolls. Those are not buttered for you. Instead, they give you the butter on the side, and it's your job to break open the bread roll and put in exactly as much butter as you want. This is just incompetent. I don't think it's incompetent on the part of the author, but I mean, Gallatin, clearly, their canteen is something else. It's just lazy. I mean, how much does butter cost that you have to put it on beforehand so that the students don't use too much? And hell, I mean, they're using too much themselves. Let's hope arts class gets any less lame than breakfast. Everyone, even Max, arrives promptly to arts. It's in a large, airy room with wide, leaded windows overlooking the lake. Now that the storm has passed, the sunlight is bright and pale. I've heard that Mr. Griffith is really knowledgeable, Freddie whispers to you. I heard that he... Mr. Griffith enters the room, and the class falls silent. He stands tall at the front desk, surveying your group with a serious expression that is not quite a frown. His dark blue suit is not flashy, but is clearly expensive. You're here to be refined, he says. Maybe you've attended here before, and maybe you're new. Maybe you think you have no rough edges, but if you do, you're wrong. What we do here is form you into a promising member of society, and we trust you're ready for that. He snaps his fingers to Hartman, who hands out books. We are reading the Alessandro and Valentine balcony scene from Charles's The Husband, he says. You'll have seen it in the theatre, I presume. Have I seen this in the theatre? Has Egide seen this in the theatre? Well, I don't think she's the type to really want to sit still for that long. But then again, backstory. She grew up in a decent part of Fenberg. So hell, maybe. I mean, okay, it would have been banned at the religious school she went to, according to the law I thought up, and chose. But, on the other hand, books are boring, plays are like books with extra work. Let's say her parents dragged her along to see it. I mean, her dad wears, like, cinnamon cologne. I think he likes plays. That's derogatory, by the way. Apparently, The Husband is supposed to be funny. And maybe if you'd been to a better performance, it would have been. It's about a hero who falls in love with a married man, and the ridiculous lies they spin in order to get time together. You watched it dutifully, but the old-fashioned words and complicated allusions went over your head. Into pairs, please, Mr. Griffith says. You'll read it together. The rest of the students shuffle aimlessly, no one wanting to make the first move. You go sit beside. Who does Egide go sit beside? I mean, okay, Hartman's a loser. Delacroix is a loser. Max is okay. Max is pretty cool. Gonzalez is like the second choice. Frey's a loser, and Blaze is a loser and an asshole. So, coin flip, and I don't think Gonzalez is actually going to speak very good, whatever they speak in Western, I presume. Let's go with Max. He's based. Max steps back in his chair. This is great, he says. I went to see this with my mothers in the summer. And all we have to do is talk? It's not even work. Let's have a look at this thing. You scan the scene. It involves Alessandro, the lovesick hero, climbing a trellis in order to reach Valentine, the married man. When he falls, he must gain the attention of Valentine, who is musing to himself about the mysterious stranger he saw in the garden, while avoiding being spotted by his spouse. Ah, steamy. Like a steam. So, who does Egide play? Well, I mean, she doesn't care about psychology, and she definitely doesn't want to say as little as possible, so she'll play Alessandra. It's the more important role. She's wearing the trousers in this relationship. Okay, I think according to Westerland fashion, she's wearing the skirts in this relationship, but it's like a manly skirt. It's macho. It's a kilt, Max is confident enough that he gets into the swing of it straight away. He's a little distracting when he starts spinning an intricate story about how Valentine became the way he did, but you focus anyway. When the murmur of conversation dips, Mr. Griffith beckons to you. Egide, Max, you'll perform the scene for the rest of the group. Everyone stares as you walk to the front. So do we put in a good show? Or do we try to get laid? On the one hand, I'm a bit leery of starting the romances off this early in the game. Yeah, it's like a dating sim, but, you know, the people who made this were too cheap to, like, do 3 different style portraits for every character, so you have to use your imagination and, you know, your favorite waifu generator. You can see my favorite waifu generator at the corner of the screen here. There I am. It's fun, using a new thing today. Recording with OBS instead of Bandicam, but I'll get more to that later. But on the other hand, you know, there's 2 times, today or never. Let's get the stick. You catch Max's gaze and hold it as you speak, speaking with particular emphasis when discussing Valentine's beauty. Max's dark eyes sparkle, and he leans so close during his soliloquy that you can see his long eyelashes against his dark skin. You progress through the scene, and Max dramatically flings himself to the ground, kneeling at your feet. All right, Mr. Griffith says, irritably. A scattering of applause rings around the room. After you return to your seats, Mr. Griffith says, the arts are of prime importance in your social circles. Not only will you be required to make erudite conversation, you will also have the responsibility of providing patronage to the artists. Freddie raises a hand. Excuse me, sir. Isn't it also important to be theoretically knowledgeable, to develop critical thought? Mr. Griffith's eyes narrow. Indeed, he says, but not everyone wishes to hear about their spouse's academic theories over breakfast. Freddie looks crushed. Duh. It's a crushingly stupid thing to say. But he puts down his hand and he tucks a strand of auburn hair behind his ear. In the gap in the discussion, it's your turn to have your say. Well, okay. Learning's for nerds, so it's definitely not its own reward. The reward for learning is being a Poindexter, dying alone. So yeah, Freddie definitely needs to learn that people find this sort of thing dull. So I think it is fair for Mr. Griffith to say that. I mean, okay, hell, he is a teacher, but unfortunately, he is right. And I mean, Yoshide is not much of a book person, so what Mr. Griffith's saying works for her. Yeah, she didn't read the philosophical considerations either, so sure as hell not going to read this. Come on, Freddie, you say. Picture the scene. You're not in some professor's study, you're at a dinner party. You'd want to have a light chat. Exactly, Mr. Griffith says. We are not talking about being educated. Gallatin is about precise application of learning for the greatest advantage. Freddie sinks in his seat and gives you a disappointed look. That serves him right. And then the bell rings, marking the end of the lesson. Well, so far so good, as far as squares go. Philosophy with Miss Delco is a very different affair. It takes place in a study, a snug room with a gently crackling fire burning, and 8 armchairs sitting in a circle. She hands out smoky-smelling cups of tea before you begin. Miss Delco herself is dressed in an emerald-coloured dress just on the edge of too daring. Just how I like it. And her lipstick is dark and immaculate. Her voice is low. Philosophy is about building skills for facing the world, she says. Life is hard, but it's also delicious. If you cope with the difficulties, the delights will be that much better. But you need the tools to do so. Your cup of tea is scalding hot. It tastes as smoky as it smells. This lady's got good taste then. Probably Lapsang Suchong. Fantastic tea if you can get a good variety of it. It's a bit hit and miss, but I know the Waitrose stuff is excellent. If you're ever in, like, England or, Australia, hell, even Dubai, go to Waitrose. Get yourself a couple of tea bags. It's worth it. Very nice tea. It's like drinking a fireplace. But instead, instead of being disgusting or painful, it's like cozy. It's like a hug in a mug. Not to be confused with actual hug in a mug cappuccino sachets, which we get here, but this is better. So yeah, nice lady, nice dress. And now she's nicely telling us to imagine the scene. A close friend is unhappy in their marriage, and by accident, you discover that their spouse is sleeping with somebody else. It's an age-old question, she says. Do you reach out to tell your friend the truth about their spouse's infidelity? Well, yeah, that start amazing amounts of trouble. Imagine that. The marriage is already falling apart, and then drama. So, absolutely. The cheating partner doesn't deserve my friend. Yeah, let's just be possessive too while we're at it. Blaze snorts. Ugh. It's probably far more complicated than you think it is, they say. It's none of your business. Hartman frowns. I don't think it would be right to stand by and watch without saying something. Hartman is sitting very straight. Her satchel laid neatly across her knees. She raises a hand. Excuse me, Miss Stelka. I thought we were due to do Weber's charitable endeavours this half-term. Lady Renault didn't mention a syllabus change. Stelka lays down her cup. Stelka lays down her cup with a gentle click. Her nails, you notice, are like her deep plum. Yeah, that would look really good with an emerald dress, actually, especially with dark lipstick. Really would just tie the whole outfit together. Ah, I like this teacher. She's still a teacher, so I hate her, but I like the lady. I am not fond of Weber, she says. He pretties up a deeply patronizing attitude towards the working classes with a pretense of philanthropy. His book is only useful as a doorstop. Max looks delighted, while Hartman's eyes widen. But, Hartman says, what about the exam requirements? There is more to life than exams, Miss Stelka says. Hartman and Freddie both look as though she's cursed in the middle of a church service. Aha! I like this lady a lot. I mean, I'm still going to try and get a fight if I have the opportunity to, but could definitely don't have a duel while she's around. So what does Jejide say? I mean, okay, she doesn't care about philanthropy. She's rich and enjoying it. It is her prerogative to teach what she wishes, but that's like sticking up for the man. I'd rather concentrate on my own ambitions, not worry about the lower classes. True, but I don't think Jejide has ambitions that exactly get more complicated than a tequila shop, and we're certainly not focusing on the college syllabus, so yeah. I encourage Miss Dalek to go more into detail about her opinions. Maybe score another cup of tea while I'm at it. Miss Dalek needs little encouragement, and launches into a critical commentary about the issues raised when somebody in a position of power and influence chooses to speak for those with less. When Weber is the one who's remembered, but the people who have been stamped down by these civic institutions are just a footnote in his historic story, that's injustice, she says. The discussion continues, with Miss Dalka deftly returning to the ethical questions of revealing an uncomfortable truth. In the end, no one is entirely happy with the outcome, but everyone has had their say. So it's like school, but they pretend to care about your opinion. Hell, it's like college. Let's see what the final class has in store. Maybe this one will actually be fun. During the late afternoon, it's time for athletics with Mr. Blanchard. You change into your gym clothes and walk out on the field. Gonzalez, who barely spoke during philosophy, is bouncing up and down on their heels with excitement. Good afternoon, Mr. Blanchard says. Like the rest of you, he's wearing a polo shirt and a sweater with shorts. Unlike you, he wears a shiny whistle around his neck. Cross-country running today. It's important to stretch your muscles as well as your minds. One blast in the whistle, and then you're off. Don't we stretch our bodies first? Like, look, I actually did track in high school. Granted, I sucked at it, but it was like family tradition, the teacher was a family friend. I didn't have a choice. So, I did it, and you really have to, fucking stretch before this. If you don't, you're going to get a sprain, or you're going to get a stitch, you're going to get tuckered out halfway through. Okay, I think that was the cigarettes, but, still, stretch your bodies and your muscles before you start to run, you idiot. I wonder he's like a gym coach. These guys know nothing. But I love this. Yejide loves this. She's been cooped up all day, and now she feels alive. Your breath feels lighter as you race ahead of the pack. Joy soars in your chest. You hadn't realized how much you'd missed this. Alongside you, Max and Gonzalez keep pace easily. Around the sports field you go, and then through a gate to a copse. The path is knotted with tree roots, and mud splatters up your legs as you run. Gonzalez whoops as a thin tree branch whips them across the arm. The run continues, circling around the woods, and after you've completed 2 circuits, you spot Delacroix sitting and smoking. Leaning against a tall tree, he looks utterly exhausted. His pale brown skin is flushed and patchy red. I told you it was the cigarettes. Those things are not good for cardio. Well, obviously we're not going to snitch on the guy. He might be a loser, but he's our loser. And we're not going to school spirit him. Like cigarettes, dude. You're not going to fix that with yelling. And I could continue running until I'm finished because it's fun. But then again, this is our first controlled substance. We're not going to miss this one. You take a breather and sit beside Delacroix in silence. This is torture, Delacroix says eventually, blowing smoke in a narrow stream. I don't know why they put us through this. It's not so bad, you say, and Delacroix gives you a hollow look. You sit together for a time, listening to the birdsong, until Mr. Blanchard jogs through the trees, with Blaise trailing behind him. Mr. Delacroix! And Yejide, he says, on the first day of college as well. Thank you, Blaise, for letting me know what was going on. This dick, again. Fucking preps, man. He leads you to the sports field, giving you a stern lecture about college spirit, and makes you run laps around the field for the rest of the class. By the end, you're exhausted. Yeah, cigarettes, they'll do that to you. I mean, still smoke them, granted. It's not like they give you cancer, but, you know, they don't give you good cardio. So in the changing rooms, perfume and cologne are sprayed, water is splashed, and hair is brushed or unbraided. You return to normality, and your first day is over. Done so soon, huh? 3 days later. Prep time is officially for homework, and the younger students are herded into prep rooms to work. But for students your age, it translates to a free hour after dinner and before bed. You can use it as you wish. So how are you spending your time tonight? Well, we're not going to read. That's lame. That's for people like Freddy and Hartman. Do you want to, like, does the stick up their ass just grow in naturally the more lessons they read? They're like ass sticks fundamentally, and they just have this human shell over them. I wonder. And so obviously, we're not going to catch up on our homework. And walking's fun. Find fun things, steal them. Let's say we're socializing. Hang out, shoot the shit. Max has set up a poker game against you and Gonzalez, who is losing badly, and trying to cajole Delacroix to join. Come on, Max says. You've got an actual poker face, unlike Mick's Zuri Scrutable here. Delacroix is busy roasting tea cakes on the fire, and refuses. The ghosts don't approve of gambling, he says. They say it's immoral. The game breaks up, and you take a breather outside. After a few minutes, Blaise appears at your side. Yejide, I'd like a word. Unlike every other time you've seen them, they look uncertain. What's wrong? Calvin Klein's in a knot? You put your polo shirt on backwards? Come and walk by the lake, they say, and turn without checking if you agree. You follow in their footsteps. Yeah, can't play poker now, might as well. And the lake is very still, but catches the last glimmers of sunset on the water. Somewhere in the reeds, a heron croaks. Blaise falls into step behind you and shoves their hands in their blazer pockets. I wanted to apologize for my behavior, they say gruffly. I was inappropriate. Yeah, like fuck you were, dickhead. I'm not believing this. It's just like shenanigans. I'm calling shenanigans. But then again, if we pretend to accept the apology, we could stab him back later. Gee. This is like the miscreant's dilemma. Do we call shit now, or do we wait and try and call shit later? Well, on the one hand, I'd like to start a fight. On the other hand, I'm told they, them pussy hits different. And I think this they, them pussy is going to hit pretty hard. So, let's wait until we have backup. Get Max to jump him or something. Blaise's face lights up with a smile. You don't know how much that means, Yejide, they say. I was assuming you were the same as your parents. But now I know you are your own person. Can we start again? I hesitate a moment, then shake. Let's keep up the act. Blaise nods, and their shoulders look straighter. You go on ahead, they say. I need the fresh air. But what if he's faking too? We should really fuck him over immediately, just to be sure. So when you head back into the dormitory, the rest of the students are settling in for bed. Hartman is carefully combing out her mousy hair. Freddie is getting a final burst of reading done before it lights out. Delacroix returns from the bathroom holding a toothbrush, rummages in his satchel, and looks up at the front. Max? Have you seen my garnet necklace? Max gives a loud yawn. Only the last 1,000 times you've mentioned it. But if you're asking about just now, no. Delacroix's movements become more and more urgent as he turns out his bag, revealing a little bronze figure of a bull, a dried bundle of flowers, and a paper bag whose acrid smell makes your nose wrinkle. So, not only is he fat, but he's also a stoner, but his weed is bad. I don't like this guy. Like, I know I don't like a lot of people, but this guy is like a special kind of awful. I mean, if you're going to be high and depressed all the time, at least have good weed. It's not that hard. I mean, he's rich. I roll my eyes while Delacroix isn't looking. He probably got high and forgot about it. Max rouses himself, starts rummaging under beds, giving loud commentary about the dust as he goes. Oh, look, there's a dust bunny here. There's, a dust bunny there. Oh, look, somebody's porno. Ah, a sock. Yeah, probably not going to touch that one. Ah, more dust. Dust. It's like I'm doing cave expeditions. How fun. Hartman does the same, more quietly. Oh, look, some more dust here, some more dust here. You can't get good help these days. And tells Delacroix that there's nothing to worry about. It belonged to my grandmother, Delacroix says, his voice rising and trembling. From the doorway, Blaise says, I'll call Mr. Griffith. What's been taken? Before Delacroix can answer, Blaise has whisked away. Fuck, I think he fucked us over first. I'm not sure how, but I swear this is going to fuck us up. Mr. Griffith is the house tutor for the Clemency building, which means he's on duty each night before it lights out for emergencies or pastoral concerns. So he's like dad. Well, at least he's got DILF energy. So despite it not being a lesson, he's still dressed in the formal suit he wears during the daytime. His only concession to the time of day is that he has shed his jacket, but his tie is as immaculate as usual. Delacroix is worried that his necklace has been stolen, Blaise says. Delacroix raises his head. That's not what I wonder if I should ask Carson if he'd seen an intruder on the grounds, Blaise carries on smoothly. Then I thought, you never can be too careful, can you? Mr. Griffith's expression is grave. Indeed you can't, he says. All right, students, bring your bags here. Max puts an arm around Delacroix's shoulder and whispers something in his ear before picking up his satchel. Probably going to hide the weed. Slowly, you file along while Mr. Griffith checks everyone's belongings. Cigarettes? Really? He says to Max, and Hartman tuts between her teeth as he confiscates them. I should have been smart like Delacroix and smoked them while I had a chance. And then the next bag is yours, Yegide's. As Mr. Griffith opens it, he frowns and pulls out a fine golden necklace, whose chain is studded with garnets of the deepest red. A cameo hangs from the chain, bearing the image of a pale horse. Death he beheld. Yegide, he says, how did this get into your possession? Your palms prickle. I have no idea how it got there. I was just talking with Blaise. Blaise gives a performance of wide-eyed confusion. I'm sorry, Mr. Griffith. I had no idea what Yegide is talking about. I was in the library just now. They heft their own satchel, stuffed with books, for effect. The walk, the lake, the apology. Of course it was too good to be true, called it. It was all fake, a way of getting you away from the other students, so you had no proof of where you were. Blaise must have planted the necklace beforehand. And now you're in serious trouble. Well, okay, we've accomplished it. We've gotten into trouble. Now the trick is to get out of trouble. Well, we're not going to cry. Tomboys don't cry. And I would never go against my own doormates, except, I just have literally been doing that with Delacroix. So, do I refuse to allow any emotion to escape? Look, Maybe if we yell loud enough, we can start a fight. I'm confident Max and Gonzalez will back me up with that. Why would I take Delacroix's necklace, you say? I've never even seen it before. Blaze has been against me from the start. Mr. Griffith hands the necklace back to Delacroix. You'll have a meeting with Lady Renal in the morning, he says to you with a disapproving frown. If she judges it necessary, you will need to hand in a letter of resignation. Expulsion is frowned upon at Gallatin College. It looks bad on their records. Far better if a student crafts a letter saying that they don't feel like they fit in. Lights out in 2 minutes, says Mr. Griffith. We'll treat this situation with the gravity it deserves. Like I stole one thing. Yeah, it's a family heirloom. Yeah, it's got precious stones. Yeah, maybe it's made of gold. It's also like one thing, dude. We're rich. Look, we're rich enough to go to a fancy college in the mountains. And, smoke and buy bad weed. And have parents in, influential positions who can afford to lose all their money and bankrupt others. I think this doesn't deserve an expulsion here. But regardless, Blaze looks triumphant. The rest of your dorm mates are quiet after he leaves. Even Max. Delacroix glances at you nervously, winding the necklace around and around in his fingers, and you get ready for bed. The next morning. You awake. Straight away, you remember what happened yesterday. It's before dawn. Am I too anxious to sleep? No. I'm confident I'm going to get through this. And there's not a chance to oversleep either. Yeah, because of the curtains put the light through. So let's say I'm on time, but barely noticing anything around me. And the dormitory is subdued, and Hartman snaps at anyone who makes too much noise. Blaze, in contrast, looks fresh and energetic. Well, they are a prep. So you know you're innocent, and you're certain Blaze was behind the theft. But to avoid expulsion, you need proof that you can present to Lady Renal. So do I follow Blaze to eavesdrop him? Do I talk to one of my dorm mates and ask them to support my case? Do I confront Blaze now? Well, on the one hand, backup is going to be nice, but I don't think this is going to be the kind of game where you're guaranteed backup. So in that case, let's confront Blaze now. I want this resolved properly. Maybe we can just kick him in the balls. Well, okay, click they, them in the balls, presuming they, them has balls, but let's confront him now. You find Blaze lounging on the grass outside the arts building with a cluster of friends who, from the blue stripe on their blazer pockets, are 17-year-olds in the year below you. Blaze dismisses them with an imperious wave and squints up at you. You've got a lot of nerve walking around as you're not getting sent home this afternoon, they say. Okay, we have literally zero evidence against them. Then again, they don't have to know that. They're certainly not going to be calm about this. Well, actually, no. We're not going to pretend we have evidence. We saw what trying to fuck them over by not fucking them over immediately did for us. Nearly gets us expelled. Let's be straightforward. Honestly, I do not understand why you're doing this. Blaze snorts. You don't understand, do you? Look, I've been here since I was 12, and I'm not having some brat come and ruin my final year. You don't deserve to be here. But you lied to my face, you say. How does that help with anything? Blaze's jaw tightens with anger. Leave me alone. They snap, their composure cracking. They stride into the building, nearly colliding with Mr. Griffith in the corridor. Mr. Griffith's expression is as stern as ever. He snaps his fingers at Blaze and says, Marechal, Yejide, you're to go to Lady Renal's office now. As you walk to the head teacher's office, Blaze says nothing, but hums a jaunty tune under their breath. The wide bay window overlooks a sumptuous garden whose summer flowers are still blooming. Between the elegantly carved furniture, the marble busts of various luminaries on the mantelpiece, and the delicate sculpture of a deer on her desk, it could almost be an aristocrat's parlor in their summer home. On the wall hangs a degree certificate from Gesner University, along with a host of accolades for Gallatin and a series of portraits and photographs of successful students. One photograph displays a younger Lady Renal, curtsying to the Queen. At the desk sits an older Lady Renal, wearing a coral-coloured dress and pearl earrings. Though she looks less glamorous than she did at the opening address, her grey hair is still meticulously shaped into a neat puff, and her makeup is subtly immaculate. Yejide is trying to avoid trouble because she stole Delacroix's necklace, Blaise started to say. Lady Renal waves a hand for silence. She leans forward on steepled fingers and fixes you with a dark, steely stare. I want to hear from Yejide. Yejide, you must understand that we operate on a system of trust and honor at Gallatin. If you don't adhere to it, you're not the right fit for this college. What do you have to say for yourself? I pressure Blaise into confessing. We're not doing the silent treatment, and look, we don't actually feel that bad about this. I mean, look, we tried our best, and yeah, obviously it's Blaise's fault. The only thing we feel awful about is the fact that they exist. I don't have a problem with the honor system, you say, but I think Blaise Marchal does. Blaise splutters in protest. She is being ridiculous. I mean, look at her parents. How can you expect somebody from a family like that to be honest? Look, my parents just lost the money on cards. That has nothing to do with honesty. That has to be doing with dealt a shitty hand. Lady Renal turns her attention to Blaise. Very quietly, she says, "You appear very invested in Yejide's situation." "Of course I am," Blaise says. "I want the college to be the best it can be, Lady Renal, as much as you do." Lady Renal does not rise to the bait. "That's the teacher's concern, Marchal, not yours." Beneath her implacable stare, Blaise loses any appearance of strength they might have had. They look just like the petulant adolescent they are, furious terror standing in their eyes. Blaise leaps to their feet. "Yejide needs to be gone. I was just showing everyone what would happen if she stayed." And silence. Lady Renal's dark gaze drops to Blaise's chair, and, trembling, Blaise sits back down. "What exactly did you mean by that, Marechal?" Lady Renal says, in a quiet, dangerous tone. The silence stretches out unbearably. Blaise shifts in their seat. I know she won't like being interrupted, which is why I'm going to say something. There! They admitted it themselves. "That will be all," Lady Renal says in freezing tones. "Thank you, Yejide. You are no longer under investigation. You may return to your class." While Blaise remains seated, you are dismissed. Whisperers and gossip follow you around all day, but you see no sign of Blaise. When you return to the dormitory that evening, Blaise's belongings are gone, and their bed has been neatly made. Ah, shit, I guess Blaise wasn't a good fit for Gallatin after all. I allow myself a small, private smile. Namely, as cheering and breaking out this vodka ain't an option. "They've been expelled," Max says wonderingly. "We haven't had expulsions since second year, when we were 12. Do you remember, Hartman? When that girl broke her locker with a cricket bat?" Hartman is very busy adjusting her bedsheets. "It's not being expelled," she snaps. "I wish you wouldn't make light of it that way. If Blaise has resigned, it's for their own good and the good of the college." Max mouths, "Expelled," at you, and whirls away to wash. It all feels like it happened so fast, and now Blaise is out of your hair. Maybe they deserved it. Maybe they didn't. No. Blaise absolutely deserved it. They tried to do the same thing to me. But if students can be removed that quickly, I'll need to be careful. Actually, no, I won't. I'll just need another scapegoat. Blaise deserved it. And I'm sure we can pin something on Delacroix next. Your thoughts race around your head, only to be interrupted when Freddy trips over Gonzalez's lacrosse stick and starts telling them off for leaving their things around the dormitory. Whatever comes next, it's unlikely to be peaceful. There we go. Chapter 1. One and done. This is going well so far. And I gotta say, I'm liking this new OBS software. It stands for Open Broadcasting Software. It's not, the other OBS, Old Brown Sherry, which is a fantastic and fun-full beverage if you like either literally dying from it, which I had an uncle who did tragically pass that way, or, worse yet, like, well, okay, not worse, but more amusingly yet, I brought a bottle of it once to a house party. I'll spare you like the 700 details because this video is already like tapping on 45 minutes, but let's just say the night escalated. All the other female guests there, were screaming and panicking, and all the male guests were holding down one of their own. This dude called Bushman. Legally, he changed his name to Bushman. Tells you absolutely everything you need to know about the guy. They were holding him down and they jamming this traffic cone over his head. They were taking turns kicking it. He deserved it. And he'd also drank most of the bottle of the OBS. He'd stolen it from me, but at that point in the night, I'd had enough. So, OBS, the software, it's much nicer than the alcohol. And it also lets me record for, whole 40 minutes at a time instead of like fucking Bandicam, which, because I'm too cheap to pay for it, probably because I keep, trying to drink nice gin. And always has that damn watermark on it. The Bandicam watermark from like 2006 when everyone and their mother was uploading Minecraft YouTube videos? That little watermark just says unprofessional, but look at this. It's sleek. I've got my waifu avatar here. Yeah, I do sort of look like that in real life, but, not as good. And I don't have, the cool Yamato Narashiko hairstyle as well, the chin-length bangs. I might see if, I can get it to like a VTuber rig one day. I'm going to need an iPhone for that first. Here's hoping. Here's also thinking that Chapter 1 was pretty good. I'm kind of sorry to see Blaze leave, though. As much as, I don't like the character in story, I like the character out of it. Excellent story antagonist. So, until next time, I've been Labuschagne. This has been a gin and tonic, very, very nice gin and tonic. And the game we've been reading, Crème. So, until next time, don't let those preppy NBs get you. Or else they'll have to behold a white horse.
I may have gone too far in a few places.